Hello, welcome back to another fantasy football video. I hope everybody's doing fantastically well. Feels like a little while since I've done an FPL video. I mean, probably has been a little while, but the game has dropped for 2021-22 season. So today I'm going to be doing a cheeky little first draft, and obviously I think there are going to be plenty of changes to this team made before game week 1, but it is quite fun to just look back on and see how much has changed from the first draft when I do pick that game week 1 team. If you're new around here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's so close to that 1k now. Hit the like button if you do enjoy the video, and let's get straight on into this one. So as always, we've got the blank slate here for the first game week, the 100 mil budget. I'm rubbing my hands, raring to go for this new season. Now, in terms of how I'm going to fill this team up, I think firstly we'll just start off with the goalkeepers because it's quite a simple one, and then I'm going to build a kind of template to go through that I think the kind of players for me that are going to be in every single one of my drafts. So in goal, I think like most people, I'm going to be going with Sanchez, the Brighton goalkeeper. And I do think that Guaita and Dubravka are definitely worth mentioning as well, coming in both at 4.5 million. There's a reason why both those goalkeepers have or were given a price increase for last season, basically up to 5 million. So I think those two guys could definitely want to look out for. But with the fixtures that Brighton do have the first 10 game weeks, it looks as though Sanchez is the goalkeeper to have at 4.5 million. Brighton generally just have been a pretty solid defence in terms of the second goalkeeper spot. I like to have a Dubravka or a Guaita in there, but with how the team is going to work and how I'm going to need to extract every single little penny out of the budget that we do have, I'm going with a Ben Foster for Watford. Did lose his place, so first team's place. However, he probably will end up getting maybe 1 or 2 games, which makes him at 4 mil, a very, very fair price. Now, I think for the start of the kind of outfield of this team, I'm just going to lob in 2 players that I feel, and I think most people will feel that you just can't start the season without, and that is Bruno Fernandes and Mohamed Salah. I don't think I need to say too much on these guys other than they're fantastic options. There aren't really any other players in the game that I feel even come close to them in terms of kind of premium assets. You've got Son at 10 million, but the likelihood that Kane won't be there means that Son doesn't become as good of an option. You've got Mane at 12 million, no. You've got Sterling at 11 million, same, no. I think that Fernandes and Salah for me, they also rotate. They rotate okay for captaincy, not the best, but definitely not the worst. It's not kind of like the Salah and Kevin De Bruyne that we've seen in the past, but they still do rotate okay for captaincy. Then I'm going to be looking at kind of 2 defenders that, for me, I'm putting in each and every single one of my teams. And that is actually a Liverpool man, and it's not Trent or Robbo, it's Virgil van Dijk. I feel like for me, Trent, Robbo and Van Dijk, but come the end of the season, they'll probably end up on very, very similar points. Week by week, it's likely that Trent and Robbo will outscore Van Dijk, but then there'll be 1 week where Van Dijk goes and ends up scoring a goal, getting all the 3 bonus points, getting himself like a 15-point haul, and all of a sudden he's caught back up to the likes of Trent and Robertson. And coming in a 0.5 mil less than Robbo and a mil less than Trent for me this year is just so important to be able to kind of build my team, especially with how the attackers are now priced. Now, in terms of that second defender, a man that I think is of cracking value, I was even looking at bringing him in, even if he was 6 million, and that is a Luke Shaw. I know a lot of people are kind of indifferent about Luke Shaw, but for me, playing for Manchester United, United are probably going to expect anywhere between kind of 12 to 15 clean sheets per season. Every time they get a clean sheet, it's very likely to get on the bonus points. Obviously, he didn't actually play all of last season. Had he done, he probably would be 6 mil, in my opinion, for the start of this game. Obviously, does bomb forward, gets himself assists and bonus points. So for 5.5 million, week in, week out, with the fixtures that Manchester United have, especially at the start of the season, Luke Shaw is just, for me, an absolute no-brainer, and is definitely in there. I did actually have Luca Digne in my team previously. However, because of the injury that he has picked up for France, unfortunately, he will not be going in there. He was the highest assisting player last season, so potentially he could find a place in the team when he kind of recovers from injury. But for now, I think Van Dijk and Shaw, my kind of base at the back with Fernandes and Salah in the midfield. Now let's take a look at the 3 attackers. Now with the attackers this year, I generally think that they're fairly priced, they're reasonably priced, but there are no kind of real absolute standout options, which is why we're kind of looking more towards the fixtures. And I think for me, Calvert-Lewin for Everton just looks like a very, very good option. Now, I will bring up Everton's fixtures here just so we can have a little ponder. And yeah, look at those fixtures for the first kind of 6 games, even until game week kind of 10. Very, very playable fixtures. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin and Everton in any game can score. And for me, the great thing about Calvert-Lewin is that he's 8 million. Now, some of you may be thinking, he's 8 million, he's more expensive than all the other attackers. For me, that's actually a bit of a bonus because it means, down the line, if the likes of Callum Wilson, the likes of Watkins, the likes of Antonio are outperforming him, it's very easy for me to transfer Calvert-Lewin to one of those players, whereas it's not very easy if the likes of Antonio, Watkins or Wilson are underperforming compared to Calvert-Lewin for me to then bring in Calvert-Lewin. I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but I hope you kind of understand that logic. That for me, going with Calvert-Lewin at the start is just a no-brainer because it makes it just a 1 free transfer move down to any of the other attackers that I will most likely want. Now, in terms of the next attacker, this man I will be giving the first 10 game weeks to. No doubt it's the Leicester man, Iheanacho. Now, I didn't actually have him in the back end of last season when he was absolutely popping off. But now with Jamie Vardy kind of coming into this season at the age of 35, the injury problems that he does have, very likely that we will see Iheanacho leading the line for Leicester. I'm pretty sure he got the most goals in the back end of last season. From when he started playing consistently, he got the most goals in that period of time. I think it was like 12 game weeks or something like that, where he just absolutely smashed it. And we have a look at his fixtures here, and it's a mixed bag. But I'd definitely put it more on the kind of positive side than not. Obviously, West Ham and City in the first kind of 8 fixtures or first 7 fixtures where they have their kind of, a few stumbling blocks, but you would kind of consider them a better side than West Ham. And it's Manchester City. You never know, Leicester have pulled some upsets off in the past. And in terms of that third attacking spot, for me, the way I've kind of been building my teams, as I say, I don't feel as though the attackers this year actually offer that great value. I think for me, I'm definitely not sold on Ivan Toney. Coming in at 6.5 million, I think he's fairly priced, but with the fixtures that they do have, for me, he's not. I'm not quite sold yet. Pookie at 6 million, the fixtures they have, definitely not for me. And then the likes of Che Adams, Chris Wood at 7 million. That's too expensive. And then Watkins and Antonio and Wilson, 7.5 million. I mean, it's fairly priced, but with some of the midfielders and defenders you can get for similar prices that I think are going to outscore them, that's kind of how I'm building my team. Now, in terms of the third midfielder spot, and actually a player I probably should have mentioned a little bit earlier as kind of one of my, not essentials, but the template players that I'm building my team around, and that is Rafinha for Leeds. Now, Leeds don't have the best of kind of first 4 fixtures, but after that, I mean, if you're holding him until about game week 10, even 11, 12, especially with the way that Leeds play, they try and score no matter what the scoreline. And Rafinha is an integral part of that. He's going to be playing week in, week out, and I thought he was cracking value last season. Obviously, at 5.5 million, he did get quite a few price increases and was on plenty of people's radars. But for me, at the start of this season, Rafinha is just, he's going in there for me at that kind of price bracket. I don't see another player that I think is as likely week in, week out to actually get returns. Even though he does have kind of a poor set of fixtures for the first 4, for me, Rafinha kind of just has to go in there. In terms of the fourth attacking in terms of the fourth midfielder, for me, it's Jackie Grealish there. No doubt whether he stays at Aston Villa or goes to Manchester City, he will be in the team. Obviously, for the first 3 fixtures, Aston Villa do have some very, very nice fixtures, which is why I'm actually going to bring in the current Aston Villa teammate. Whether they will actually be teammates come the start of the season is another question. But the current Aston Villa teammate, Emiliano Buendia, for Aston Villa, playing against Watford, then Newcastle, then Brentford. Obviously, I have just said, I'm not completely sold on Ivan Toney coming new into the Premier League, and I don't love kind of bringing in new players, but Buendia has been in the Premier League before, and he wasn't incredible for Norwich, but he does come into a better Aston Villa side, definitely than the Norwich side was. Obviously, as you can see there, their first 3 fixtures are very good. So for me, I feel like it's just a punt on the first 3 fixtures. Then he can move on to even a Leeds player, a Wolves player, even an Arsenal player. Saka, Neto, Harrison, just all these guys that there are potential for. And as I say, with Grealish, 100% will be in my team, whether he's in a City or Aston Villa shirt. Now, in terms of the rest of the defence, and one thing that I have kind of learned over the past year of FPL is with the defenders, for me anyway, the way I'm now seeing it is I need to be looking less at the teams that have good fixtures and more at the teams that can just defend, more at the teams that are just likely to get clean sheets no matter what the fixture is. And that's my kind of thinking behind Antonio Rudiger for Chelsea. Chelsea have got such a good defence. They had the most clean sheets after Tuchel joined, Chelsea had the most clean sheets. So expected goals against, I think, was the best in the league. I would like to have Ruben Diaz in there for Manchester City, but can't quite afford him. But as I say, with Chelsea and Rudiger, I think is a cracking option. And that's why, for me, Rudiger does go in there over, say, the likes of Creswell and the other boys coming in at 5.5 million. Had Digne been fit, it would have been very tempting to go for him instead, just because of the attacking potential that he does have. But as I say, with the kind of how good Chelsea are defensively, I think Rudiger could be a nice little pick. Obviously playing against Crystal Palace, who notoriously aren't very good at scoring. Then it's Arsenal, Liverpool, Aston Villa. Not the best, but not the worst fixtures. It's these kind of games where, people will look at that and probably be put off, but I can actually see them getting 3 or 4 clean sheets and potentially, hopefully, sending me up those leaderboards in the early weeks. Now, in terms of kind of the budget that is left over, what players I'm going to be going for, you've got Fofana for Leicester and Cody for Wolves. That are kind of the 4.5 million options that I'm sort of debating between. I'll just lob in Cody, but yeah, just know that is a bit of a 50-50 for me right now between Fofana and Cody. And this final spot, I've seen people kind of talking about Brandon Williams, that you could potentially get a low move somewhere, and if he, that's probably why I'm going to end up going for him as my 4 mil option. If he gets a low move somewhere, he could get some more playing time. And they've seemed to kind of really cut down on the 4 mil defensive options this year. Nathan Ferguson for Crystal Palace has gone up for 0.5 mil, having not played a single minute last season. So they're definitely looking to kind of cut out this season those 4 mil options that are at least playing week in, week out for teams. All the 4 mil options seem pretty dud. But yeah, this is how the team is lining up so far. Currently, it would be Van Dijk, Shaw and Rudiger, with Fernandes, Salah, Rafinha, Grealish, Buendia, Calvert-Lewin and Iheanacho in that starting team with Sanchez in goal. I'm pretty pleased with this as a kind of starting lineup. I do like the idea of putting more players in the kind of attacking positions and going kind of, solid, but only 3 at the back. I feel like, for me, having a reasonably premium defence that I'm going to play week in, week out, but only having 3 of them, and then having the differentials as your kind of, your Rafinhas, your Buendias in the midfield, is probably the way I'm going to go this season. But yeah, this is how the team is kind of lining up so far. So if you have enjoyed this quick little first look ahead of the Fantasy FPL season for 2021-22, don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new around here, and I'll catch you in the next one.